Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be talking about the most important astrological transits of the year 2021. Yay! So we are going to have a look at the Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius transit and also how that is going to connect with Uranus currently transiting through Taurus and continuing to transit through Taurus throughout 2021. We're going to be taking a look at the eclipses in the year ahead, at the retrograde periods, especially Mercury retrogrades, and last but not least, ingresses of planets into the various signs month by month, full moons, new moons, and tense aspects each month. Quick few things that I would love to mention before we dive into the astrology of 2021. Number one, I am a Western tropical astrologer, so all the videos on my channel are based on Western tropical astrology. I know I get the question so many times in the comments, is this sidereal? Is this tropical? It's tropical, folks. The second thing is I use the whole sign house system, just in case you are wondering what house system I prefer. The third thing is the following. I offer astrological consultations and personalized readings. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can do that through my website, which is writteninthestars-astrology.com. Have a quick look at the various services that I offer, the various types of readings. They are natal chart readings, yearly forecasts, so looking at the year ahead together, compatibility readings, love and relationships. So whatever it is that is on your mind and whatever it is that you are concerned about in terms of what's coming up next or lifetime themes, there's probably going to be a reading that I can do for you on that particular topic. So let's dive in. Now, probably one of the most important transit of 2021 is Saturn and Jupiter going through Aquarius throughout the entire year. Jupiter is going to get out of Aquarius at the end of December in 2021, but they're going to be hand in hand dancing, these two big peer planets, as we call them, throughout Aquarius for most of 2021, with a short pause somewhere in spring, summer in the northern hemisphere, when Jupiter makes a quick stop in the sign of Pisces. Now, Saturn entered Aquarius on the 17th of December 2020 and is going to stay here until March 2023. What is the symbolic influence of Saturn moving through Aquarius? Well, Aquarius is the sign associated with the hopes and wishes, friendship, clubs, society, technology, innovation, progress. This is a very symbolic time because we've got a shift taking place from the focus on major individual achievements with Saturn in Capricorn to a larger, more universal expression with Saturn in Aquarius. So the focus of society, you could say, is moving towards more Aquarian ideals, which have a deeper emphasis on communities, on groups of people, on what works for the many, not so much for the few, because Saturn in Capricorn is the epitome of the elite. It's the epitome of institutions, of governments, of the few who lead, not of the many, not of the people, like all the people, I will say. Now, some very important developments that happened in the previous Saturn through Aquarius cycles. The World Wide Web appeared during the last Saturn in Aquarius cycle. On the 30th of April 1993, the www source code was released by CERN. The previous Saturn cycle took place between the 6th of February 91 and the 20th of May 93. So these babies, me included, we're going through our Saturn return as we speak. And also the internet is going through its Saturn return. And it's going to be very interesting in the next 2.5 years until March 2023, how the internet is going to mature, because Saturn return cycles are about maturity and taking responsibility and getting rid of the fluff or of what is not essential and 100% relevant. A few additional developments that happened throughout previous Saturn and Aquarius cycles. I think this is interesting to take a quick look at history and see, okay, what are some of the themes that we can expect for society as a whole to hit us in the face with this particular Saturn and Aquarius cycle. So in 1993, Nelson Mandela was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for laying the foundation that brought an end to the apartheid. The previous Saturn cycle in 1963, JF Kennedy signed the U.S. Equal Pay Act into law to prohibit discrimination on account of sex in the payment of wages by employers. What else happened? 1963 is the year of the civil rights movement in the U.S., with the number of activists and protesters involved reaching a critical mass. What else happened around that time? Somalia, also in 1963, Benin, Burkina Faso, the Ivory Coast, Chad, Central African Republic, Congo, Gabon, Nigeria, Mauritania, Sierra Leone, and a few other countries. I mean, this list is not exhaustive. They were asking and getting their independence from European governments. And last but not least, 1963 is going to be remembered as the year of the March on Washington. So, some major Saturn and Aquarius themes that are going to take center stage in the next 2.5 years. Responsibility towards the group, not the individual. It may feel awkward, it may feel unnatural, but technically, morally, it's probably the right thing to do. Just saying. Especially as in Western societies, we are so geared towards individualism. And we're taught to focus on personal goals above everything else. And is that constructive in the grand scheme of things? Is that healthy for us, for society, for the planet? I don't know. We'll see. Saturn and Aquarius is most likely also going to bring widespread AI, 5G, big technological scientific developments implemented at a societal level. Saturn is rules. Aquarius has to do with groups of people, technology, innovation, progress, wider acceptance of all individuals. Let's not forget, the Aquarius energy has to do with accepting everyone, no matter their odds, quirks, weird, unconventional lifestyles, not socially acceptable lifestyles, alternative lifestyles. And Saturn says, okay, we gotta integrate these folks, and we're gonna pass laws to bring them into the big blanket of society. I'm also going to say this, in the next 2.5 years, picking up new tech skills is probably going to be of utmost importance, because literally in the next 2 decades, there is going to be a technological revolution of most likely a scale that we haven't seen in our lifetime. Why do I say that? Because the Great Conjunction this year in 2020 happened in Aquarius between Saturn and Jupiter. And Saturn and Jupiter Great Conjunctions, by the way, I've released a video on it. You can look it up through my videos on my channel. They are associated with massive societal shifts. So the shift is gonna be tremendous from a technological perspective in the next 20 years. So if you can get cracking and start learning sooner rather than later. Saturn is also associated with duty and jobs and our responsibility towards the world. And Aquarius is the sign of technology, science, innovation. So there's gonna be a lot of revolutionizing our jobs, everyone's jobs, the job market in general. I'm putting it out there. On a personal level, Saturn Aquarius individuals in general, I've got to say, especially us who are going through our Saturn return, may feel like they don't belong to any specific group that is artificially structured, such as a family, a business, a religious group, a corporation. And Saturn and Aquarius in someone's natal chart can be associated to an inability to behave according to popular standards of behavior or conventional standards of behavior. So what do? We normalize unconventional standards of behavior. There's going to be a lot of normalization of, as I've mentioned, alternative, out of the box lifestyles and choices at an individual level. Last but not least, there's going to be a strong sense, an increased sense of social responsibility at a both individual and also societal level in the next 2.5 years, which is good if you ask me. And I know I'm going to have the folks out there kind of like focused on the negative side saying, what about restrictions of freedom? What about this? What about that? I mean, I'm not going to get into a debate. We're all free to focus on whatever aspect of a specific placement we want to focus. There's light and dark aspects to all placements, planetary placements, and all transits. And ultimately, I believe as individuals, we have a duty and a responsibility to work towards the creation of the society that we want to live in. So if we're dissatisfied with something, you be the change that you want to see in the world. You change your lifestyle, you change your attitude, you change your approach. If people are hateful, if people are afraid, be loving, be grateful, be charitable, be giving. And that's where my preaching stops. You can tell I've got Saturn in Aquarius. Now, in terms of the Jupiter transit, in Aquarius. So this is taking place between the 19th of December this year in 2020 when I'm filming this until the 28th of December 2021 with a brief stint in Pisces between the 14th of May and the 27th of July 2021 people. Jupiter is associated with religion, with the law. It is associated with faith, with belief systems, with higher education. It is also the planet of generosity. So I'm actually much more optimistic and hopeful about the year 2021 as opposed to probably a lot of astrologers that you're going to listen to out there on the internet or on TV. Because yes, indeed, Jupiter is traveling through Aquarius, which is traditionally ruled by Saturn. So you could say that Jupiter is traveling through the house of Saturn. So there's kind of like a Saturn advantage. But Jupiter brings in a certain feeling of like generosity, hope for the future. Let's do the right thing. Let's be kind. Let's share. Let's be magnanimous. Let us look at the big picture. Let us bring faith back into people's lives. So I'm going to say there's probably going to be a massive shift, a revolution, because Aquarius is a sign that loves to like update and upgrade and revolutionize things. Of all things related to Jupiterian topics, such as higher education. Folks, there's going to be a massive shift towards the online studying environment, whether we like it or not. I'm just going to put it out there for those of you who are very enamored with the face-to-face classes type of setup for education in general. Reformation of long-distance travel, which is also associated with Jupiter. Reformation of religion. Ha ha ha. I'm like, ha 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 ha. Let's see what that brings up for folks. More unconventional religious systems or spiritual systems are coming to the mainstream, I will say. Astrology's out there with these like alternative niche spiritual practices. I would never call astrology a religion because astrology is like natural law. It's not a religion. You can follow whatever religion you want to follow. Astrology is not one of them. Astrology works regardless of what faith you identify as belonging to. So these are going to be some of the themes of Jupiter through Aquarius in 2021. Now, one of the toughest, the most challenging aspects of 2021 and also 2022, it's getting easier in 2022. We are going to have Saturn in Aquarius squaring Uranus in Taurus. Yay! And as you probably know, the square is an aspect of tension and action, of change, of upgrade. Generally, Saturn-Uranus squares are very significant turning points because they affect the structure of societies, they affect how people live their lives, they affect the rules, the norms, the status quo, they disrupt the status quo. So, this is going to be the square that's going to dominate the energy of 2021, and it's going to continue to play out throughout 2022, and the effects, the impacts, the major themes that have unfolded in these 2 years are going to settle. The dust is going to settle in 2023. The aspect of Saturn squaring Uranus is exact when? Between the 16th and the 18th of February, 13th, 14th of June. And why do I give you like a couple of days? Because it depends where you're at on the globe. And also between the 24th, 25th of December. So we've got one like massive exact square mid-February, mid-June, Christmas 2021. What's going on? Well, a lot is going on. A lot is going to be going on throughout 2021 because of, or in correspondence with, the symbolism of Saturn, Uranus, and square. Uranus is disruption. Uranus is anarchy. Uranus is the truth. Uranus has no time to think about slowing down. Uranus happens very, very abruptly. Generally, contacts between these planets are associated with circumstances outside of our control. There can be a crisis related to authority, and there probably will be, and especially an economic crisis. I am going to put it out there. There is going to be a feeling of anxiety, of shattering of old structures related to people's economic system, related to the world economy in general, because Taurus is associated with money and resources. There's going to be instability related to all of these tangible material assets that people want to know that they're always there, that they are unchangeable, that they're like the rocks of their life, and they're not going to be as stable as people want them to. So there's going to be quite significant fluctuations from a financial perspective. There's probably going to be fluctuations, especially, I'm going to say it, in the first couple of months of the year. Fluctuations with access to food, which is very interesting because we've already seen kind of like a glimpse of this here in the UK when we had like France closing the borders to the UK for like all traffic altogether because of a mutation of like something, blah, blah, blah. In any case, it was a mess, like a literal mess. There were queues of lorries for like tens of miles. It really seemed a little bit dystopian. And there could be a lot of that next year, especially in the first 2 months of the year. Why the first 2 months? Well, the energy is fresh and we don't know what to do with it. And like the collective doesn't know how to handle it, doesn't know what to do with it. So that's why I'm thinking, especially in the first 2 months of the year. There's probably going to be a shattering of the solidity of social values. Taurus is associated, by the way, in astrology, Taurus is associated with what we value, with what we consider worthy. Yes, it is associated with money. It's associated with food. It's associated with movable kind of like assets. It's associated with agriculture. And Taurus is fixed earth. It doesn't get more solid and stable than that. Well, Uranus in Taurus says, you know what, I'm going to create earthquakes. And I'll just put it out there. There could actually be earthquakes, especially around the times when the square between these two planets, Uranus and Saturn, gets exact. So mid-Feb, mid-June, and around Christmas 2021. Volatility in the markets, volatility in access to food, volatility in the economy. Karmically, this most likely has to do with trying to imbue in the collective subconscious the new notion, because Uranus is new. Uranus is like, hey, have you thought of this? You haven't? Okay, I'll shove it down your throat. Literally. Essentially awakening people to the fact that even the values that we thought were unchangeable, unshakable, completely reliable, such as the solidity of land, the solidity of their property, they're not as solid as they thought they were. So what's the point in accumulation, in ownership, in an obsession with consumerism and wealth? I'm gonna say that by the time Saturn gets out of Aquarius, as a society, our obsession with accumulation will have already started to die down. I mean, it's gonna take decades, okay? So nothing happens in a day. It takes time for these new values to like become deeply embedded in the collective subconscious. But more and more individuals will realize, actually, I don't have to own things in order to enjoy them and in order to have a fulfilled life. Which, maybe it sounds easy in theory, but in practice, everything is geared in like today's capitalist society towards consumerism, and it's just the way it is. It's a fact. Saturn aspecting Uranus also symbolically represents the need to free oneself from the outward trappings of life, which is very interesting. There's probably going to be a huge amount of dissolution, a huge amount of like breaking free. Uranus, freedom. Uranus is freedom. Uranus is like, I don't care what you're trying to impose upon me. I'm going to break free. You can't hold me down. You can't shackle me. You can't lock me up. There's going to be a lot of like breaking free from groups that people don't identify with. And social institutions that they don't identify with either. A lot of breaking free from corporations, a lot of breaking free from traditional societal expectations and norms, a lot of breaking free from traditional values, because they're gonna feel useless. I will just put it out there. They're gonna feel completely irrelevant in our reality throughout 2021, 2022, 2023 as well, especially the first quarter. There's also going to be probably a very high level of transparency as to what is happening to world wealth. Uranus and Taurus is literally blockchain technology, the technology that is used by cryptocurrencies. This essentially keeps track record of every single transaction, and there's going to be no more losing track of funds through, I don't know, like offshore accounts, umbrella companies, you know, what the rich elites of the world are doing to stash away billions and billions to do what with them. Last but not least, Uranus Saturn square times are times characterized by breaking away from tradition. Strikes are probably going to be the norm, especially around the times when the square is exact. Now, there's also a very interesting period in January. By the way, January is probably going to feel like the heaviest month of the year in 2021. Newsflash. Watch your January horoscope, folks. It's up on my channel. So Jupiter in Aquarius is going to be squaring Uranus in Taurus on the 16th, 17th of January. I did mention this in my Great Conjunction video. It's likely to result in cyber attacks. Ha 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 ha. So change your passwords, folks. Do not have the same password to all your accounts. You know, two-factor authentication and all of that, implement it. Best practices. The symbolism of Jupiter meeting with Uranus also has to do with using technology and ideas to replace the human need for material desires, Taurus. Technologization of the earth, technologization, I don't know, you tell me how it's pronounced. Widely available to all. Disruption of higher education, law, and religion. As well as technology as religion, which I find very, very interesting. It's going to be an interesting time. Now, the other major events of 2021 are obviously the eclipses. So we are continuing the series of eclipses on the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. More air with the North Node transiting through the sign of Gemini. By the way, very interestingly, or to be expected, so to speak, all the Mercury retrogrades in 2021 are also happening in air signs. There is a huge emphasis on air in 2021. A massive shift from Earth compared to 2020, when things felt like they were like at a stalemate, not moving anywhere. We're losing faith, we're losing hope, it's all stagnant, we're blocked. Well, the wind's gonna be howling in 2021 and things are gonna be changing like the wind, so be prepared to be like the willow in the wind and to flow with it and to be open to new concepts, to new ideas. Also, I've got to say, be open for information to come to the surface very quickly, for ideas to change, for new concepts to come to the surface throughout 2021. And it can give a lot of people anxiety. I'm going to put it out there because it feels like you're grabbing at straws. It's like, what's real? What's not real? What's gonna stay around for a long time? Oh no, things are changing again. Oh no, the wind of change again. Adaptability, massive adaptability is a major theme in 2021, and being open to new concepts, new ideas, new ways of doing things, new ways of learning. Learning is such a huge thing in 2021. Learning and acceptance of those who are different. And accepting their interests and accepting their needs, even though their needs were not necessarily taken into account beforehand because they were unconventional and they went against the status quo. There is a huge revolution of what the status quo represents, and it started when? At the Great Conjunction this December. And it's going to continue throughout the year ahead. But I'm getting derailed and I love it. I absolutely love it. You guys know me. So let's talk about eclipses. The first eclipse of the year is happening in May, on the 26th of May. It's a lunar eclipse happening in Sagittarius at 5 degrees of Sagittarius, if I am not mistaken. Yes, I'm not mistaken. So lunar eclipses are like full moon, but 10 times stronger. They represent peaks, culminations. They bring things to light. By the way, eclipses generally either bring in a big new beginning or a big culmination. Therefore, culminating means something ends afterwards. So when you reach the peak, then you have to begin the descent in a cycle in your life. So it's going to be very helpful. It's going to be very helpful, essentially, to know where the Gemini Sagittarius signs are placed, are located in your own natal chart, to see which axis is very strongly emphasized at the time of the eclipse season. How can you find that out? Well, there's a ton of like natal chart generators online. You can put in your date, time, and place of birth, and I recommend using the whole sign system. So changing the default kind of like settings from Placidus house system to whole sign, because it makes it easier and to interpret. It's the oldest house system out there. Each house is governed by one sign, so you don't have intercepted houses and whatnot. And in my experience, and in my clients' experience, who I offer readings and consultations to, the whole sign house system has proven to be the most accurate, especially when we talk about timings. So find out what your natal chart looks like, or contact an astrologer. You've got one here to do a natal chart reading for you, and there you can find out where in your chart Gemini and Sagittarius are placed. So 26th of May, 2021, 5 degrees of Sagittarius, the completion of a cycle that started at the eclipse in this specific month in December, when I'm filming this on the 14th of December, when we had a solar eclipse in the sign of Sagittarius. So what's happening on the day? We obviously have an opposition between the sun and moon, which is what happens at eclipse times and at full moon times. Other very interesting aspects of this are the following. I love the fact that there is, I mean, it's wide, but there is still a sextile from the moon to Saturn in Aquarius. And we always want to have Saturn on our side if possible, so in a harmonious aspect. Essentially, there's a consolidation of something that kicked off around the 14th of December this year in 2020. Something gets stable, something gets like fully implemented. I'm going to give you a concrete example of what happened on the 14th of December 2020. There was the first woman who got her virus vaccine here in the UK. I think she's a 90-year-old. And essentially the rollout of the vaccine began on the 14th of December here in the UK. So I'm expecting that by May, and by the way, eclipses are active also the couple of weeks before, the couple of weeks after. I say pay attention to like the 10 days before, 10 days after. There's probably going to be a culmination of the rollout of the vaccine, especially here, like in Europe, but generally around the world. There's like, okay, we've made it, we've done it, we've implemented it, we've rolled it out. I imagine a lot of people are going to be vaccinated by that time. I mean, whoever is open to getting the vaccine. Other important aspects of the eclipse, we've also got to look at the ruler of the sign the moon is placed in. And this is Jupiter. And Jupiter is placed in its own sign at the time, because Jupiter in traditional astrology also rules Pisces. Jupiter is placed in the sign of Pisces. It had entered the sign of Pisces on the 13th of May. And Jupiter is in a square to the sun at the time. So what's cooking? What's going on? Jupiter aspecting the sun, even if it's a tense aspect, is a very confident, flamboyant aspect. It's like, woohoo, we're doing so well. We're so confident. We want to go out there. We want to travel. We want to hug. We want to meet everyone once again. Let's have a party. Especially since Jupiter is associated with long-distance travel, the sun in Gemini is associated with short-distance travel. We've got a whole slew of planets in Gemini at the time. We've got Mercury, we've got Venus, we've got the sun. Everyone wants to move around, and I'm gonna say they probably will be moving around. Careful not to be overly confident. That can be the challenge here. It is a time of healing. I love the fact that at the time of the eclipse, we've got Neptune in a trine aspect with Mars. So it's like action that leads to healing. Neptune is placed in the sign of Pisces, which is associated with healing. So there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of positive energy at the time, but okay, I'm just gonna say it. Careful not to overdo it with the positivity and to take our eyes off of the realism in the meantime. Now, the other eclipse happening on this axis is taking place on the 10th of June at 19 degrees of Gemini, and this is a solar eclipse, so a new beginning, woohoo! So what's cooking at this eclipse? Obviously, we have a conjunction between the sun and the moon. We've also got the eclipse in conjunction with Mercury. Oh my days, and it's in a square aspect with the Neptune. So, folks, not to rain on your parade, but Neptune aspecting Mercury, and with the eclipse shining its light on Mercury Retrograde, to me has spelled all over it confusion, fake news. I hate to use it. I hate to use this this term. Things are not clear. The course of action is not clear. There's elements that we don't know of. We might have overdone it at the eclipse on the 26th of May, just to put it out there. On the other hand, we do have a beautiful aspect from Saturn to the new moon, to the eclipse at the time. We're still moving forward, even though we might be moving slower and we might be moving a little bit in the dark. We don't know exactly what it is that we are doing, just to put it out there. And this may result in some people hurting themselves because Neptune square Mercury also has to do with suffering and disappointment on a certain level. Now, in November, we've got the 4th eclipse of the year, and this one is actually initiating the series of eclipses that are going to happen on the Taurus-Scorpio axis. So, dun, 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 we are moving away, not just yet, not fully, but we're going to move away from Gemini eclipses at the end of 2021. And we're getting a sneak peek on the 19th of November at the lunar eclipse happening at 27 degrees of Taurus. And we're going to have a series of eclipses happening on the Scorpio-Taurus axis throughout 2022 and also throughout a part of 2023. So, what does the eclipse on the 19th of November look like? Let's not forget, Taurus is the sign where Uranus is, so we are about to have some surprises. Taurus is the sign of financial resources, as I've mentioned previously many times. Money, agriculture, the 5 senses, the physical body. It's associated with movable property. It's associated with what we value, with a sense of self-worth. And we've got a T-square at the time of the eclipse happening in the sky between Moon in Taurus, Sun in Scorpio, and Jupiter in Aquarius. So some things gotta change in relation to how resources around the world are distributed to the people. Why do I say that? Because the moon in Taurus places an emphasis on the money of the people, on the economy at large. Jupiter in Aquarius says everyone's gotta have access to the resources, folks. You can't hoard them. Share some with us. And the sun in Scorpio says, oh no, like don't touch my resources here. I don't want to share them. So Scorpio is associated with other people's money, and I'm thinking there could be some sort of like clash between the traditional banking system or traditional ways of like storing and saving money, such as like pensions, for instance, suffering from a need of reformation, and possibly like people saying, you know what, I want to take this away and I want to invest it in cryptocurrency. For instance, I'm giving an example. There seems to be a loss of trust from the people at large in traditional established institutions that look after their money. And it can culminate around the 19th of November. Why? As a result of a major dissatisfying event. It's like, generally, at the time of lunar eclipses like this one, secrets come to the surface. And this is going to be a big one for secrets, especially secrets related to power and money. Scorpio's power, Taurus's money, and how it's been used. And people are going to be completely like, no, how can you do this to us? How can you lie to us in such a blatant way? So that is a very possible way this can play out at a collective level. At an individual level, I mean, you guys need to take a quick look into your chart to see where the Taurus, Scorpio signs are located in your chart, and also Aquarius, because there is a T-square over there. Now, the last eclipse of the season is happening on the 4th of December, 2021. It is a new moon, solar eclipse in the sign of Sagittarius. We have been reset. Travel has been reset by this time. It's looking different, especially long distance travel. We know what it's gonna look like for years to come. There's new rules that have been implemented. There's new systems, new structures that have been implemented. The eclipse is fantastically aspected to Saturn. It's in a sextile. So I'm thinking, yes, we know what we can count on, and we know how to adhere to the rules and what rules we need to adhere to now when we are planning our long distance travel. I'm really liking this. I'm absolutely liking this this eclipse. It's also in conjunction to Mercury, so everyone's gonna find out about it because Mercury is the messenger. It's gonna be all over the media. Don't forget to pay attention 10 days before, 10 days after the 4th of December. So very exciting times at the time of the eclipse. Now, let's talk about retrograde periods. So Mercury retrogrades, what to pay attention for this year. Mercury retrogrades are only happening in air signs this year. The first one is happening where the Aquarius party is taking place. Woohoo! From the 13th of January till the 20th of February. The second Mercury retrograde is happening between the 29th of May and the 22nd of June in Gemini. And don't forget, it's like Mercury retrograde, essentially this year, especially the first two retrograde periods, is happening at times when there is already a huge amount of energy concentrated on specific parts of your chart and on specific types of experiences. So the first retrograde is happening where, as I've mentioned, the entire focus is the sign of Aquarius. Saturn is there. Aquarius is the people. Saturn is rules. Jupiter says, let's give everyone the benefit of a doubt. Let's be generous. Saturn says, not so fast. We've got to be cautious. Let's reform the laws. Saturn says, oh, it's going to take time. And Uranus bumps in there and says, I'm protesting out in the street. You better change those laws, and you'd better change them fast, because I'm gonna start breaking some things. And Mercury just like pops in there and says, okay, let's look back over things that we thought are set in stone, and let's see how we can tweak them and review them. Mercury retrograde periods are about reviewing things, reviewing communications, reviewing paperwork, reviewing documentation. Mercury rules transportation and messages and media. It rules communication and gadgets in general. And it tells us, okay, you thought you were done with this. No. You got to go over it once again with a fine-tooth comb. So that's when the first Mercury retrograde is happening. The second Mercury retrograde is happening in eclipse season in summer. So the first eclipse of the year is happening on the 26th of May. The second is happening on the 10th of June. And Mercury retrograde is happening between the 29th of May and the 22nd of June. So it's literally going over Gemini topics. Gemini is short distance travel. It's primary education. It's communities. It's networking. It's sales. It's trade. It's e-commerce. So all of these things are probably going to be reviewed at a collective level. And the last Mercury retrograde of the year is happening between the 27th of September and the 18th of October in Libra. This is also very significant because Libra is the sign of contracts. Libra says, okay, we're going to find a solution that's win-win for everyone or lose-lose for everyone so that no one gets upset. You know, we're throwing everyone a bone. My bone is like as big as your bone so that you don't get upset. Equity, fair. And Mercury goes in there and says, okay, let's just review these contracts once again because you forgot a clause here. So that's going to be a big theme for the latter part of the year. What else is going on? Okay, let's go through. So we went through Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, the big three meeting in fixed signs in 2021. We went through eclipses. We went through Mercury retrogrades. Let's look at each month by month, at the lunation calendar. So new moon, full moon. Okay, so in January, the new moon is happening on the 13th of January in Capricorn. It's going to be a new moon of regeneration. It's going to be in tow with Pluto. It's tense. It's death and rebirth. It's literal death and rebirth. I mean, new moons are associated with new beginnings anyway, but this one's going to be even more of a new beginning type of vibe than new moons generally are. I'm liking the fact that the new moon is in a nice sextile aspect with Neptune. It's like, okay, things are mellowing down a little bit. There's like a silver lining, but at the same time, we got those kind of like punches coming from Uranus and Mars in Taurus to Jupiter and Saturn in Aquarius. So we're not going to be able to like enjoy as much as we'd love to the regeneration of this new moon. Not because of the new moon itself, but because of the planets and fixed signs that I've mentioned. The full moon on the 28th of Jan is a tense one. There's a T-square in the sky. The full moon is happening in Leo. T-square between, let me put up the chart. Moon in Leo, obviously. Sun conjunct Jupiter in Aquarius and Uranus and Mars in Taurus. It's the clash of the titans, folks. No one wants to compromise. No one wants to give in. We gotta find a way to work together. Literally, we've gotta find a way to work together. We can't be at war all day, every day. It can't be us versus them. Some interesting or important ingresses, so planets moving into signs. Why are they interesting? They're all interesting. In January, on the 19th, the Sun enters Aquarius. Mercury enters Aquarius on the 8th of January. Venus enters Capricorn on the 8th of January as well. Mars enters Taurus on the 6th. And that's about it in January. Now, in February, what's happening? Okay, so the Sun enters Pisces on the 18th. We've got a new moon in Aquarius on the 11th of February, a full moon in Virgo on the 27th. After the 11th of February, things are going to get a little bit easier generally for everyone. After the full moon, my apologies, after the new moon on the 11th. I've already mentioned that Mercury is retrograde until the 20th of February. It started on the 30th of Jan. On the 1st of February, Venus enters Aquarius, and on the 25th, Venus enters Pisces. I'm really liking Mars trine Pluto. A very good day on the 25th of Feb, a very constructive day. And that's it for February. March, what's going on in March? The 20th of March, we've got the spring equinox and the sun entering Aries. New moon in Pisces on the 13th of March. This is actually a really nice one because, why? Because Neptune is conjunct the new moon. Venus is also conjunct the new moon. It's a very romantic, dreamy type of new moon. It's like, oh, everything is fine. Oh, we've got so much compassion and empathy. And I'm not being sarcastic here. I realize there are folks who watch me and say, oh, why are you snickering? Why are you being sarcastic? I'm literally not being sarcastic, but it's hard to tell because I'm sarcastic many times, so. And the new moon is also sextiling Pluto. We also want to have the support of Pluto because Pluto says we're healing, we're rebuilding, we're the phoenix rising from the ashes. So I love this. And the full moon in March is happening on the 28th of March in Libra. Would you look at that? We're reaching a compromise around the 28th of March as well. Well done, folks. On the 15th of March, Mercury enters Pisces. On the 21st of March, Venus enters Aries. Woohoo! Fight, fight, fight. Fight for love. On the 4th of March, Mars enters Gemini for the next 2 months. And these are the most important aspects of March. Then what's happening in April? On the 19th, the sun enters Taurus. New moon in Aries is happening on the 12th of April, and the full moon on the 27th of April is happening in Scorpio. Okay, so this is another tense one because there's another T-square in the sky. Remember the one on the 28th of Jan where there's another one on the 27th of April, and it's once again involving planets in fixed signs. So Saturn in Aquarius squaring the moon in Scorpio, also squaring the sun, Uranus, Venus, and Mercury in Taurus. It's like people have had enough. They just want to enjoy life with like 4 planets in Taurus. They want to indulge the senses. They want to be in nature. They want to take a walk. They want to have nice food. And Saturn, which is the law, says, not yet, not so fast. But the good part about the full moon is the fact that it's a culmination. So the tension starts to dissolve after the full moon itself. A few additional important ingresses in the month of April. Mercury enters Aries on the 4th, and then it enters Taurus on the 19th of April. And Venus enters Taurus on the 14th of April. Mars enters Cancer on the 23rd of April. And Pluto is going retrograde from the 27th of April for a very long time. What's going on in May? The sun enters Gemini on the 20th of May. We've got the first eclipse of the season on the 26th of May, the full moon in Sagittarius. On the 11th of May, we've got the new moon in Taurus at 21 degrees of Taurus. Folks, by the way, if you don't know how to make use of these dates, write them down because they're going to be important, and you're probably going to feel the energy shifting for you on an individual level around all of these times. Now, if you have no clue exactly where in your life and how the transits, so the planets moving now, how they impact your own natal planetary placement, so your own natal chart, that's where I recommend getting a yearly forecast reading, which is one of the services that I offer. And it's the most accurate type of forecast for the year ahead because it's based on your personal birth chart. Now, on the 4th of May, Mercury enters Gemini. On the 9th of May, Venus enters Gemini. It joins the Gemini party. And on the 13th of May until the 27th of July, Jupiter enters Pisces. And on the 23rd of May, guess what? Saturn starts going retrograde. Dun, 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 dun. Important dates in June. The 21st of June, the sun enters in Cancer, enters into the sign of Cancer. This is the summer solstice. On the 10th of June, we've got the solar eclipse in Gemini, so new moon in Gemini. On the 24th, we've got a full moon in Capricorn. This is completing the cycle started around the 13th of January, 2021, folks, at 3 degrees of Capricorn. Mercury is going to be retrograde from the 1st of June until... Well, it's actually retrograde already from the 29th of May till the 22nd of June. My apologies. What else is going on? Venus is entering Cancer on the 2nd of June until the 27th of June when it enters the sign of Leo. And on the 11th of June, Mars enters Leo as well. Big day, 14th of June. Saturn is squaring Uranus exactly. Important times in July. So, on the 22nd of July, the Sun enters the sign of Leo. Then, from a lunation perspective, we've got a new moon in Cancer on the 10th of July. I really like this new moon because, once again, it's in a beautiful aspect with Neptune. Emotions and feelings are being soothed around this time. We are starting to feel a deeper sense of safety and security because things have felt pretty unsafe and insecure throughout the entire year. And I'm not talking here about like actual danger. I'm talking about the fact that the ground is shaky. That we are in kind of like moving sands type of situations and circumstances throughout the first half of 2021. And the new moon in Cancer is also in a sextile aspect to Uranus in Taurus. So all the changes that have been implemented at an economic level, at a resources level, from a food, money, shelter perspective, we're starting to take them in. We are assimilating them within our subconscious, so to speak. We're starting to feel like, okay, I can roll with this. I can get about with this. It's becoming part of the new norm. Now, on the 24th of July, we've got a full moon in Aquarius, and this is going to be a doozy. Literally, like all new moons, full moons in fixed signs, they're very interesting because there is a lot of tension on fixed signs. So if you're a fixed sign, or if you've got a lot of emphasis on fixed planetary placements in your chart, be prepared for the structures of your life to change in 2021. And if you fight it, then you're just making life more difficult for yourself. But hey, maybe there's learning in fighting as well. Sometimes you need to learn, we all need to learn the hard way. And learning through opposites is actually a very common way of learning our karmic lessons and evolving. What do I mean by opposites? We're putting ourselves, consciously or subconsciously, in the exact opposite experience of what we want our life to look like, so that we can appreciate and be more grateful when we do get what we want. Or when we realize that, actually, I've had so much to be grateful for in my life. So, this one is going to be... Well, it's going to be interesting, this full moon, on the 24th of July, because it's going to be reflecting back on the very shaky times of mid-February. We still have the square active from Saturn to Uranus. We've got Jupiter in an opposition to Venus at the time of the new moon. We want things to stop changing. That's how I interpret it. And guess what? Nope, not yet. Not yet. There's still more change to come. And especially, I will say, probably change around how we enjoy ourselves, how we go about our fun times. Because the sun in Leo says, oh, I want to have fun. I want to live life in the moment. And also about how we work. Additional important dates in July, Mercury enters Cancer on the 11th, and then it moves into Leo on the 28th. Venus goes into Virgo on the 22nd of July. On the 29th of July, Mars also enters Virgo. And on the 28th of July, Jupiter leaves Pisces to go back into Aquarius until the end of the year. It's been in Pisces since mid-May. What's happening in August? On the 22nd of August, the sun enters the sign of Virgo, so it shines a light on Virgo-like topics. New moon in Leo on the 8th of August. Full moon in Aquarius on the 22nd of August. Mercury goes into Virgo on the 11th, so it's joining the Virgo party. Mercury goes into Libra, though, afterwards on the 30th of August. Venus goes into Libra on the 16th of August. And that is about it. Those are the important dates in August. September, the sun moves into Libra on the day of the autumn equinox on the 22nd of September. New moon is happening on the 7th in Virgo. Virgo is the sign of health, let's not forget. And this new moon is actually in a trine aspect, so a harmonious aspect to Uranus in Taurus. So I gotta say, health-wise, we're gonna be doing many, many times better come September compared to how we're doing right about now. And I'm gonna say technology is probably playing a huge part in this. Uranus. Tech innovation. The full moon is happening on the 20th of September in the sign of Pisces. And it's reflecting back to themes that kicked off around the 13th of March at the new moon in Pisces. On the 10th of September, Venus is entering Scorpio. On the 15th of September, Mars is entering Libra. And those are about it in September. October, on the 23rd, Sun enters Scorpio. We've got a new moon in Libra on the 6th of October. On the 20th of October, we've got a full moon in Aries. Venus enters Sagittarius on the 7th of October. Mars enters Scorpio, one of the signs that it rules, so it's going to be very strong, on the 30th of October. Then in November, the sun enters Sagittarius on the 22nd. We've got a new moon in Scorpio on the 4th, a full moon in Taurus. By the way, this is the eclipse, which we've talked about on the 19th of November. Mercury enters Scorpio on the 5th of November, and then it moves into Sagittarius on the 24th. And on the 5th of November, Venus enters Capricorn. A very tense day in November is going to be the 10th of November when Mars is in a square to Saturn. An exact square to Saturn in the sign of Scorpio. Another T-square in the sky. So Mars squaring Saturn. Saturn is going to be squaring Uranus at the time, and Mars is going to be in an opposition to Uranus. There's still clashes in values here, folks. There's still a lack of desire to compromise. There's still pushback from the traditional established institutions, Saturn, against like full-blown fully implemented reform when it comes to the economy, when it comes to material and financial resources. And Mars here says, I'm gonna fight for like what I want, and you'd better give it to me now, because I've run out of patience. So yeah, that's in the making. Now, December. Yay, December 2021. Oh my gosh. So excited already. On the 21st of December, the sun enters Capricorn, obviously, at the time of the winter solstice. We've got a new moon in Sagittarius, the last eclipse in the year of 2021, and the one that ends the 1.5-year cycle of eclipses on the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. So we're going to be able to take a quick look and see, okay, how has our approach to education and travel changed, and also to religion and what is morally right and wrong? How has it changed in the last 18 months whilst we've had a series of eclipses on this axis? We'll see. We shall see. And on the 19th of December, we've got a full moon in Gemini. So the full kind of like aha moment, the grand finale of the North Node transiting, which is associated with our karmic path, transiting through Gemini. On the 13th of December, Mercury is entering the sign of Capricorn. On the 13th, we've also got Mars moving into Sagittarius. And on the 29th of December, Jupiter is saying goodbye to Aquarius, and it's entering into its domicile, Pisces. So I'm already excited for 2022 because Jupiter is in its home in Pisces. We're going to feel healed. We're going to feel generous. We're going to feel positive. We're going to feel optimistic. We're going to feel much more charitable as a society throughout 2022. The 24th of December is the last day of the year of Saturn exactly square Uranus. So exciting clashes around Christmas time. And on the 23rd of December, the North Node leaves the sign of Gemini. So we're going to talk about what that means at the time. So these are the most important transits of the year ahead. Once again, it's very helpful when you're following these dates to have your natal chart in front of you to see, okay, this is where Gemini is placed in my chart. This is where Aquarius is placed in my chart. If I may make a big recommendation for you, locate which parts of your chart are governed by the sign of Aquarius, Taurus, Leo, and Scorpio, because these are going to be the big ones that are going to be kind of like tense and like punched and like asked to evolve throughout 2021. Also locate the Gemini Sagittarius axis. And obviously, if you've got any planets in any of these signs, I mean, I'm going to say you're going to feel these transits even stronger. If you have no clue how to do this, then obviously you can reach out to me and purchase a personalized yearly forecast reading where I explain the major transits of the year and how they interact and influence your own natal planetary placements. Thank you for tuning in. Happy New Year. If you haven't subscribed, don't forget to subscribe. What are you waiting for? It's always a pleasure sending you lots of love, faith, blessings for the new year. I'm very grateful to be able to do this for you. Bye.